Great is thy faithfulness. I like those gospel hymns. Now we're going to go to the entertainers, Scott Joplin. in San Francisco.
Hi, and welcome to Wonderfully Made Conference again. And I just want to take a minute and thank Tim Bailey for that amazing worship with piano. Let me just tell you a little bit about Tim. Tim's parents were told that there was no hope of meaningful life outside of an institution for him. Fortunately, they did not heed the doctor's advice. And in 1979, when he was in his 20s, Tim announced, "I want to be a concert pianist." And today he has reached his goal, many times over, in fact. From a child who could barely touch his two index fingers together, he has become an incredible musician. He performed on television with Liberace and Steve Allen, in addition to several White House performances and others at the Pentagon, NASA, and the Kennedy Center. He recently returned from a tour in Australia. In 1986, Tim began to paint. Since that time, one of his paintings was chosen to be hung for the 200th anniversary of the U.S. Capitol, and he was chosen to exhibit his work in the Very Special Arts Gallery, an affiliate of the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. Other awards are both musical and artistic are too numerous to even mention. Tim Bailey lives at the Canton Christian Home, and he attends First Christian Church in Canton, Ohio. And Tim, once again, thank you so much for joining us today. That was a very huge treat for us. Well, today again, our keynote, and again, Wonderfully Made Conference, so happy to have you with us. Again, want to encourage you to take advantage of our VIP package. We've got special deals for you on that, so you can have this conference all year long. Whenever you want it, any talk, you can watch them over. Plus, we'll be adding new material throughout the year for you. Today, again, we're going to have another treat with our keynote. Today is going to be Rex and Jennifer Hudler. Rex and Jennifer Hudler, they are the proud parents of Alyssa, Cade, William, and David. And on October the 22nd, just a couple days away, they are going to celebrate 32 years of marriage. Congrats, Rex and Jennifer. That is just so amazing. Their life together has taken them many places, and they so look forward today to sharing with you here at the Wonderfully Made Conference. Rex has just completed his 9th season as the Kansas City Royals baseball television analyst on Fox Sports KC. He has over 40 years of baseball experience, including 21 years as a player. Hudler, nicknamed Wonder Dog, quickly became a fan favorite of all his major league stops. He's a graduate of Bullard High School in Fresno, California. Hud was a 1999 inductee into the Fresno Hall of Fame. Rex excelled in many sports in high school, receiving over 25 football scholarship offers before signing a letter of intent to play at Notre Dame. However, he chose baseball after being selected with the first round pick by the New York Yankees in 1978. Hudler is an award-winning broadcaster who began his announcing career for Good Morning America during the 1997 baseball playoffs and the 98 Super Bowl. He is a 4-time winner of the Television Color Analyst of the Year by Southern California Sports Broadcasters and won an Emmy in 2004 for Angels in the Infield. He also loaned his voice for several baseball video games. Jennifer runs a very busy household as mother of 4 and her parents' former caregiver. She majored in classical vocal music and minored in piano at Capital University and the Ohio State University. She's recorded 2 contemporary Christian albums and enjoys songwriting. She also taught choir and produced 20 concerts in 10 years at Children's Elementary School in Tustin, California. She also helped write, produce, and market the Rex Hudler Wonder Dog Show on Southern California's 8:30 a.m. radio. She currently manages Hudler Productions and serves as the Vice President of Team Up for Down Syndrome. Rex and Jennifer founded Team Up for Down Syndrome in 1998 in honor of their son Cade, who was born with UP syndrome, as they like to say. Team Up is dedicated to improving the lives of those with special needs and raising funds for organizations that provide housing, health research, job training, family counseling, education, athletic endeavors, and other worthwhile causes. They are active motivational speakers, love volunteering, and have been awarded several honors for their community service. As a couple, they enjoy yoga, swimming, snow skiing, movies, dining out, and most importantly, spending time with their children. And it's my honor now to introduce Rex and Jennifer Hudler.
Hi, it's so nice to be with you today. I'm Jennifer Hudler.
And I'm Rex Hudler. We are so excited to be here with you for the Wonderfully Made Special Needs Conference. And I want to say a special thank you to Doc Hunsley. Doc, thanks so much for you and your team and offering us this incredible opportunity to share.
Well, first of all, I'd like to say that this is really weird because I'm not used to looking into a camera like you are.
Well, look, you are a lot better looking, so it's going to be easy. Well, honey, all you got to do is smile and share. We're going to share a little bit about our life. You know, I was a Major League Baseball player for, in my first life, 21 years. In my second life, I've been 20 years as a broadcaster, and now finished my 9th season with the wonderful Kansas City Royals as a color commentator.
Before we get started, I'd like to share a little bit about our kids. We have 4 children. Alyssa, who's 26, she's studying law at ASU. We have Cade, who is 23, and we'll talk more about him in a little bit. We have William, who is 19, and he's studying marketing and communications and playing baseball at Johnson County Community College. And we have our videographer for today, David, who is 17 and a senior at Blue Valley West.
Thank you, David. All 4 of our children are a huge, huge deal for us. And you know, Cade's thrived the fact that he has 3 siblings, so he really, really loves that.
Our life together has taken us a lot of places, and we'll share a little bit about all of the stops that we've made along the way. Rex, why don't you tell them a little bit about your background, where you're from?
Hey, I was from Fresno, California. I grew up there. At 17 years old, I had 2 great opportunities presented for me as I was an athlete. I had a full ride to Notre Dame to catch passes from Joe Montana, some no-name quarterback. This was in 1978. Things changed as I signed a letter of intent the New York Yankees drafted me in the first round, 18th pick in the country, and I had a big decision to make between two lives. So what do? I asked God, God, what do you think? Where do you want to put me? Baseball was the choice. Maybe it had something to do with the big bonus I was offered by the Yankees, but that's where we went. Had a lot of fun playing ball. Absolutely the greatest thing ever. If I'd have chose football, I would have never met my wife. So the fact that I'm in baseball, I got lucky.
Well, we met in 1984 in Columbus, Ohio. I was working for the Park Hotel. It was a hotel chain out of New York City, and he was playing for the Columbus Clippers, the AAA team, and they were having a media banquet, their Meet the Team banquet at our hotel. I was the music director, which was really a glorified name for a disc jockey. I taught them how to spin records and had a lot of fun playing trivia games. And then one afternoon, this gentleman with a nice three-piece suit walked in with some other guys, and he walked up and asked me to play a song. It was Huey Lewis's Huey Lewis, The Power of Love.
That's right.
I
I requested the song. That was back when Huey Lewis was a big star and everything was going on. But had no idea what was going to happen. Wasn't looking for a date or anything. And then I left that night after it was a Meet the Clippers banquet. So we had a banquet, and that was it. And I was walking back through on the way out to my car, and she had changed clothes and now was working at the door. And as I left, I said, "Hey, good night, girl. See you later." And then as I got close to the door, I heard a "Hey."
I did not say hey.
She called me back anyway, and I'm thinking, man, really? Is she trying to pick me up?
I was not trying to pick him up. He was dressed well, but that red hair just wasn't my style. And then I realized that it's not what's on the outside, it's what's on the inside. We went out for a date a couple of weeks later. He told me what he did for a living. I was not impressed, and I think maybe that had something to do with him pursuing me then. I'm not sure.
Well, look, that night that she called me back, she waited at the window after I said good night. Maybe we can go out sometime, and she wanted to see what kind of car I was driving.
I did not.
You were. Okay.
I did not.
All right. So then we dated for 3 or 4 years. I got a couple cups of coffee in the majors with the Yankees, and then I got traded to the Baltimore Orioles. And I was in the wrong place, wrong time there. Jennifer and I still dated, here and there whenever we could get together. And then, after about 10 years of minor league baseball and really not going anywhere, and I was tired of the life I was living, it wasn't pleasing to me or God, and I was running and chasing and doing things I shouldn't be doing. I really wasn't focused, and I really had put God on the shelf. And so I'm like, I want to find a wife. I need a wife. I need somebody. I want somebody. So God, will you handpick a wife for me? Because I came from a broken home. I was adopted at 8 years old, me and my 2 brothers, by my other dad. So I didn't want that in my life. So I knew that God could find me a wife. And I knew that he would handpick her for me, and he lifted Jennifer up. After praying for a few months, a year maybe, I was praying for a wife, and when he lifted her up, I went, "Oh wow, her? God, you have great taste, man. She's hot. She's a good-looking woman, and she got a good heart too." He goes, "Yeah, you asked me to find her. It was no problem. I found her, but it's up to you to catch her." And that was the hard part.
It was hard because he was in a different city, but we kept in contact, and then he asked if I would come to spring training. And
with the Baltimore Orioles, we were in Miami, Florida.
So he wanted to propose to me. I didn't know that, though.
So I got not 1 ring, but 2 rings, because I knew that when she found out I was a ball player, she wasn't too happy about that, because she wouldn't get interested in a ball player. But I wasn't looking for a wife at that time either. So I was like, you know what? Let's go out. I'll treat you. I'll have some fun. We'll have a good time. So I took her. I went to the ballpark one day, and I'm trying to find some way to propose. How do you propose to your future wife? And this was going to be my only wife, I was hoping. And so I went to the ballpark that day. Cal Ripken, Eddie Murray, Freddie Lynn, some other guys were sitting around my locker, and I said, "Hey guys, I'm getting ready to propose to my future wife. You got any ideas?" Cal Ripken Jr. says, "Yeah, Hud, take her out to Key Biscayne, just 20 minutes away from here. Rent a tall ship, take her out at sunset. If she says, and ask her to marry. If she says no, throw her overboard." And then they laughed, all the guys laughed, ha ha ha, and then we went on and went about our business, but I liked the idea. So after practice was over, I drove down there and I rented a tall ship, it's called the Spirit of Miami, asked the guy if I could take it out, big, beautiful, 50-foot sailboat. And I got the 2 rings, one was a nice wedding ring, engagement ring that I could afford, and the other one was a more expensive ring that I had to take a loan out to get, just in case I needed it. So I got down on my knee and I proposed, hey, will you marry me? I want you to be my wife for the rest of my life. And then I handed the ring, and she didn't say anything. She looked at me and looked at the ring and kind of went, and I was like, oh no.
It had nothing to do with the ring.
But I didn't know, so the silence was wearing me out. So the cold sweat started, and I remembered, oh hey, if you don't like that ring, how about this one? And I reached in my other pocket and I pulled out the other one with a big big diamond ring on. And she picked it up and laughed. She laughed, ha ha ha. And she said, okay, I'll marry you, but not for another year. Ding, 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 ding. I said, yes.
It was
That's
an
a yes.
exciting trip, that's for sure. I just wasn't prepared to get married at that time.
But she took the bigger and more expensive ring. Imagine that.
I did. I did.
That was a sign of things to come, by the way, too.
Yeah.
So we had a lot of fun, though. We enjoyed what so we went on. The next year, I was with the Baltimore Orioles, and forget that, didn't work out. So now I'm a free agent, and I'm basically a nobody after being a #1 draft pick. And then God again came in. He says, all right, I'll find you a place. So the Montreal Expos was that team. They gave me an opportunity, and I took off. And then we got married at the end of the '88 season, my first year there. I never went back to the minor leagues after that. Jennifer,
That's right.
She helped me get 10 full years in the majors, so I'm very grateful for her. So we got married in October of 1988 on the 22nd, and it will be 32 years coming up here real soon. So we're real excited about that, moving forward. But once we got married, it just seemed like God really opened up and blessed that whole thing. We were traded from Montreal to the St. Louis Cardinals, heartland of America. What a great trade it was. Second time I've been traded, and like I said, we don't have any control in baseball. We're just a piece of property, so we're moved, so it was even easier for us to trust God because He knew where our next stop was. We didn't. Cardinals for 3 years, what a blessing that was. We met so many people. We bought our first home. We met a lot of great people, and wearing the red birds on the bat was really a special opportunity for me. But then after 3 years there, I was at the end of my contract, and my agent called and said, hey, guess what? I have an opportunity for you to play ball in Japan. Really? Japan? Wow, that sounds exciting. What do you think? What are they thinking? Well, they are offering you a big contract, so maybe you might have to think about it. I said, okay, great. So we went to Japan, not knowing exactly what was going to happen, asking God, what do you want for me to do there? He goes, I just want you to let them see your spirit. I want them to let them see my spirit in you, and go play ball and have fun. Really? I could do that. So it was a great experience, wasn't it?
It was. It was wonderful. I'd never had sushi and never wanted to try it before in my life, but I'll never forget the first dinner with the manager. They had a lobster. They sat in front of us, but the lobster's meat was on top of the lobster, and the lobster was still moving. So there were a lot of things that I wasn't used to coming from Columbus, Ohio.
Yeah, but you know what? Just the culture, the differences, it was awesome. We loved it. It was baseball, but the crowd, the fans, it was all great. Yeah. Anyway, so that year was over. We won the Japan World Series, by the way.
But what happened?
Oh, we conceived our first child. Alyssa was made in Japan. Yeah, but you know what though? So we came back home, and the next spring, when I needed to find a job, my agent got me connected with the San Francisco Giants. And we went to spring training. Things were going pretty good. I got injured. And then, right there with a week to go in spring training, Alyssa was due any moment.
Yeah.
And they called me into the office, Dusty Baker, and he fired me. So now I'm like, oh wow.
You're out of here.
Okay. Hey, so thank you. I'll see you down the road. And the next day, Alyssa was born. So it was
Alyssa was born, and he went out for breakfast or something. I'm not sure why.
Lunch that day.
And the general manager for the California Angels walked into the room and asked to see Rex. We chatted for a minute. He left his business card. He said, I have a job for Rex. Tell him to give me a call.
So I get back from lunch and I say, hey honey, how you doing? How's everything? She goes, the angels came. And I went, I've never had a baby before, honey, and I know that you probably have seen a few angels, during this time. She goes, no, here's the card. And I went, oh really? She used a different word too, by the way.
No, I didn't.
Here's the card. I called him up and he said, you're on my 25-man roster. So I had made the team. So God put me right back in the big leagues in a different city in California. Had the right state, but not the right city. And Alyssa brought a new team and brought a new contract, and just it was a blessing. You know how kids bring blessings to your life? Yeah. She really started it off great.
And 2 years later, I became pregnant with Kate. And the funny thing was, it seemed like everywhere I went, I was seeing people with Down syndrome. I'll never forget going into the grocery store and running into a family. And I had never really been around people with Down syndrome. And then I was at the ballpark and I was walking down the steps one day and a young man with Down syndrome was walking toward me. And I really feel like there were a lot more instances like that too. I really feel like God was preparing our heart. We were told I had a 1 in 300 chance of having a child with Down syndrome. We decided not to do the amniocentesis, but we did an ultrasound that was the best at the time. And they told us that there was, no thickness of the neck. They looked at the bone in the pinky finger, which is usually different. That wasn't different. All the things they looked for looked very typical. So we found out that it was a boy, and we were excited about that. And then the night that I had Kate, he came very quickly. It was about 2 hours from the start of my labor until he was born.
And so now Kate's born after the season was over in November, okay? And it was exciting. Rushed to the hospital. Water broke in the car, and we're like, oh, I'm speeding. It's about 4 in the morning, which is good in California, no traffic. So I was like, We get there, we pull up. I jump out of the car, hospital, the lady at the desk, I'm saying, my wife's gonna have a baby. And she looked at me like, they all say that. So calm, because the dads are always nervous. And I go, no, here she is. And she's looking over my shoulder, and I could see her, and she's going, as Jennifer got out of the car, and she's like waddling, And so they got the gurney and put her in there. And
it was a wheelchair, actually.
I'm sorry.
It wasn't a gurney.
Okay. So anyway, I'm yelling in the hallways, Doc! Where are you? Let's go! We got action, man! Baby's coming!
And we got into the room, I got on the bed, and 6 minutes later, Cade was born.
There he was. Nurse takes Cade from Jennifer and puts him in the hot tray, whatever they call that. I don't know what they call that either.
It's okay, keep
okay,
going.
So as she was moving him, I said to her, wow, look at him. He's beautiful. How is he? And she didn't say anything. And a light kind of yellow flag went up in my mind, and I'm thinking, oh no, forget it. Look how beautiful he looks. Look, he's got a little peach. He's got red hair. He got a nice athletic booty. That's my boy, man. I'm excited. Yeah. So we moved on, but there was one thing that was different than Alyssa, our previous child. He didn't cry.
I was trying to nurse him, and a nurse came in and said, knelt down beside of me and took hold of his hand, and she said, well, he doesn't have a simian crease. And I didn't know what that meant. It was just something that some children with Down syndrome have. One line instead of the 3. And I said, no, he doesn't have a simian crease, but he does have a space between his toes. And then she began to talk more, and I realized I didn't know what she was talking about. And she figured that out. And she left the room, and I called Rex and said, I think there might be something wrong with Cade. And he said, I'm going to call the doctor. I said, no, it's the middle of the night. Don't call the doctor. I'll call him in the morning. Well, I hung up the phone, and he turned around and called Doc Winter.
I'm calling the doc. I don't care what time it is. If there's something going on with my child, and I remember that was like, what? Oh, so I called him up, and he goes, we're not hiding anything from you. We don't know anything. Tomorrow when you come to the hospital, it's the day you get to go home. We'll take his blood. We'll take a blood test, and he's able to go home because he was born, and the doctor came and said he's typical and healthy, congratulations to you guys.
Yeah,
And we're like, okay, cool, that's wonderful. That's what we prayed for, was a healthy child.
We prayed for a healthy baby boy, and that's what we got. He had good APGARs. We had no suspicion until that evening. But you know, the blessing was that nurse, and after that we had 2 more children, and that nurse was there for those 2 children as well. And so I got to know her. And later in life, she ended up with a grandchild with Down syndrome. And you know, I feel like she was a blessing to us, because we would have gone home probably and never known, at least not for a while.
So we moved Cade in. That day, the phone rings, it's the doctor. He calls me at home and says, hey, your son Cade has tested positive for Down syndrome. And so when I hung up with him, told my family the news that Cade had Down syndrome, it was, oh man, you know, they were all crying. Grandma and Grandpa was there. My mom and Dad were there. You know, it was quite a moment where they were all grieving. And I was like, what's wrong? Oh, we got a healthy child. It's going to be okay. It's my boy. It's ours. He's ours. God made him through us. It's going to be okay.
But the reality set in, and it was really difficult. We were devastated at the time. Looking back, of course, we feel totally different. But at the time, it was the toughest news that I've ever heard.
So I needed to talk to somebody. I needed a parent who had a child like mine or something, and I knew that a teammate of mine, Tim Burke, was a teammate of mine with the Montreal Expos. He and his wife Christine adopted children with disabilities, and through a heart procedure one time, the child became mentally disabled. So he knew kind of what was going on. So I said, Berkey, Jennifer and I just had a little boy with Down syndrome. Can you give me any advice? And he goes, yeah, Hud, you need to grieve with Jennifer. And I said, what? I'm not upset. It's okay. I'm happy to have him. No, Hud. He goes, you had dreams of that child, that boy being a big league ball player, didn't you? Well, yeah, you know, I guess. Did you have dreams of him driving and living a typical life and going to school with no problem, without an aid or anything like that? And I go, yeah, I thought he, you know, yeah. He goes, you need to grieve those dreams of that child. That's what I'm talking about. 90% of marriages are dissolved when a child is born with a disability in their life. They can't handle it. So you need to grieve with your wife. If she's grieving and you're not, that's a problem. You need to grieve with her. I said, Berkey, I love you, thanks. Hung up the phone, grieved, cried for 2 or 3 days, and I couldn't sleep at night. But the only thing that helped me was when I turned on the TV, there was scripture and soothing scenery at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. And it was God. And that's the only thing that made my heart feel good. And I was drawn to him. And it was really, really soothing. So now, okay, I got to start working out again. I've taken 10 days off. There's teams calling. I'm a free agent. I got to go back to the gym. This is November. That's my training season. So when I went back to the gym, my buddies were all there. So I walked into the training room where I trained with my teammates, and there they were. Hud, where you been for 10 days? We heard you had a baby. Tell us about him. And I had to tell my teammates that I had a child with Down syndrome, a boy. It was really painful to tell my big league ball playing buddies that. But in a sense, I was telling them, he'll never be a big league ball player. And so they hugged me. It was a big group hug. They hugged me as I wept. And so we started to get working out. And Jim Abbott was walking on the treadmill next to me, and Jim Abbott was a Major League Baseball player that pitched with one hand. So he had an incredible disability that he worked through. So he's walking on the treadmill. He says, Hud, you and Jennifer are good parents. You're good people. You're going to help Cade reach his full potential. Miracles can happen. And what impressed me coming from Jim Abbott was that he didn't brag on himself. Look what I did with my disability. He was very humble. And it spoke to me how he shared about Jennifer and I helping him reach his full potential, and that's what I needed. It was time to get out of the grieving process. It's time to move on now. It's time to accept Cade. And Jim Abbott, God brought a man's man to come into my life that when I needed him, and that was encouragement that worked. As I got in my car to drive back home to see Jennifer, God and I had a conversation, and God asked me, how do you accept a gift? Well,
So when
stick
Rex,
your hands out.
yeah,
Well, God said, I gave you the child to enhance your life, not to bring your life down. Okay? You can't see the future. I do. I got great things planned for you guys ahead. To accept your gift and love him and take him and do great things with him.
So Rex came home and I was in bed. I'd spent the 2 weeks either in the chair by the bed or in the bed. I was really depressed.
Trying to feed him.
Yeah, it was a difficult process. There were a lot of people that were trying to help because I continued to want to nurse. And he came home and knelt down beside the bed, opened up the Bible, read a verse to me, and then he said, "What he just told you, honey, what do you do when you're given a gift? You hold out your hands and say thank you." And that was the turning point for us. I began to see the light, and every day was easier, every day got better, and Cade truly is a blessing. But in the moment, it was the toughest thing we'd ever been through.
So we signed with the Philadelphia Phillies. That was pretty awesome. We're going to fly all the way across country and start and go with the team that wanted me, gave me a nice contract, a 2-year deal. And so we take Cade and Alyssa with us, and we're off to Philly. And I shared my story about Cade to the Philadelphia Inquirer, and on opening day in 97, opening day, there was an article on the front page of the sports section in the Philadelphia Inquirer. It showed me holding my little boy Cade as they came to our house to take pictures, and I was nuzzling Cade. And they shared my story and Cade's story, our story, with all the people. And man, I started getting tons of mail from fans in the area that I would open the mail and they would say, "Congratulations, my son has Down syndrome and he's driving a car. He's doing great things. Way to go. You and Jennifer are got it made. It's going to be okay." I got letter after letter after letter. And here we were. God sent us to Philadelphia to get encouraged by those fans. So we started doing fundraisers right away. The first year we started doing, we called it Team Up for Down Syndrome.
So when we got to Philadelphia, we weren't getting the same kind of connections and services and things that we had gotten in California. And so we decided we would just open our home and network with other families. And so one thing led to another, which then Team Up for Down Syndrome was formed. And we loved having people in our home, and we learned about the doctors we needed to see. And so it was really just one family helping another family in the beginning. Team Up's mission is to support housing, health research, job training, family counseling, education, and other causes. And some of the other causes for us were athletic endeavors, because we believe that the social aspect of their lives is equally as important as the education piece. And so we continue to support our community, our special needs community today, with our organization Team Up for Down Syndrome.
Okay. Philadelphia wasn't the player they expected. I had hurt myself. The artificial turf there was hard, and I was 36 years old. So things weren't going well. My career was starting to go downhill. Okay, so they let me go. It's okay. I thanked them. You guys are the best. And then I retired, and a week after I retired, the phone rang. This was in May of '98. And the phone rang, and it was the California Angels. And they said, we want you to be our broadcaster next year. You're retired, you're out, we want you. Sparky Anderson was the broadcaster before me there, and he didn't want to travel and do the games. So I said, "Hey, Jennifer, what do you think? I got another job offer. I'm going to be a broadcaster. What do you think?" She goes, "I'll call the realtor. I'll call the trucks. We're leaving. We're going back to California." So we went back to California.
And then the family, the home team, continued to grow. We kept waiting because we just wanted it to be the perfect timing. We were waiting for milestones, waiting for Cade to crawl, then to walk, and it just seemed like there was always something we were waiting on. Well, I got pregnant. God said, it's in my timing, not yours. And then 17 months later, we had David. And I was actually on the pill and got pregnant with David. We kept wanting it to be the perfect time, but God knew that we needed 4 kiddos to complete our team. And they're both such a huge blessing to us. I can't imagine what life would be like if we didn't have them, and how they have, all 3, Alyssa, William, and David, have really helped bring Cade along. I mean, that's what Cade needed too.
That's right. So the boys that we had behind Cade caught him developmentally and then pulled him forward as they grew and mature. And Cade, we got to educate him now. Now he's starting school. And the school district that he was in California, they weren't prepared for him. And we had in our mind to put him, we wanted him included in all the schools. We wanted him mainstreamed. And the school was like, whoa, no, we're not prepared. Well, you better start getting prepared, because that's what we want for our child. And so we didn't realize it at the time, but it was a battle. We had to fight for our son Cade to get him included. As it turns out, he was the first kid with a special ability that was included in their school, in their typical school. He was the first one. And so then after that, other parents were coming with their kids. So God used us to help break that barrier down there in California. So Cade, I watched him, and during the baseball off season, I was off for 6 months. We would take him to school, and then I would watch what they were doing, and they were giving him physical therapy in a janitor's closet. I mean, they weren't coming through and following through with what they said they were going to do. So we pulled him out of school, and we got all of his therapists for everything that he needed, all of the stuff that he needed, and we got him on a plan, and we got him going, and we were seeing results. He was improving. He wasn't having outbursts anymore. We helped Cade, but then in return helped other people that was coming behind us.
Cade had a lot of behaviors. I think he was jealous of his brothers, especially. We knew that we needed help. We knew that we needed better services. We knew that he needed better services, actually. And so we reached out. We looked for therapists. You know, we were trying to deal with having 4 children, one with a disability, Rex being gone a large part of 6 months out of the year. And when he was home during the season, he was gone a lot, especially during the waking hours that the kids were in school and things. I mean, it was a difficult time, and so we weren't afraid to reach out for help. And we would talk to our pastor. We had other parents that had been in the same situation before to mentor us. And so therapy, family therapy, behavioral therapy for Cade was key. It changed our lives. We had really, been at home a lot. We didn't go out a lot. And at the end of, I remember the first year after a lot of therapy that we'd had, it felt like we got our life back. We could go to the movies and there weren't fights and there weren't, he would disappear on us. I mean, we were just learning how to become better parents with a child with a disability, and Cade made us better parents. So as Cade got older and he was headed to middle school, his home school was just down the road, and that's where we wanted him to attend. But they didn't have a special education class, so they wanted him to go across town. So we fought for him to have the right to be in his own home school so he could walk to and from school and be in the same classroom with the kids that he had grown up with. And it was hard, but he did it. There were a few glitches here and there, but we were really proud of him because he was able to be more independent.
So the broadcasting was a blast. It was fun. I loved it. 11 years had passed. We'd won a world championship in '02, the Angels' only World Series. So it was really an exciting time. But, in our November meeting that we typically have after every season with the ball club, I went to the meeting, and the Angels said, we no longer need you on radio or TV anymore. And so the meeting lasted 30 seconds. They got up. I went, I guess the meeting's over, but wait, before you send me out, let me say thank you for the 11 years you gave me. I loved it. You guys were good to me. I learned a lot, and Fox was there. Hey, Fox, thanks for helping me. Hey, I'll see you guys down the road. And I went out to the parking lot. I remember an empty parking lot at Angel Stadium, and I looked around, and I'm like, okay, God, what's next? And he said, so I drove home, and he's telling me in my heart, he's saying, Hud, baseball's been a little bit too much of a priority in your life. I'm going to take it away from you now. I want you to focus on me and what I gave you, your wife and your 4 kids. All right? I'll give it back to you when I feel like you're ready. That's a great plan, God. Thank you so much. So I had 2 years off. I've never had a summers off in my life after I left since high school, and so it was really fun. 2 years go by. I'm having fun with my kids and helping them coach baseball, doing all the little things that dads can do when they're home during the summer. And Jennifer came up to me one day and said, "Hey, honey, I know you like not working, but we're living in Orange County here, and you need to find a job." And I went, "Oh, okay." So I did what I would always do when I didn't know what was ahead. I would get on my hands and knees and pray. God, where do you want me? Put me where you want me. I love broadcasting still. That's in my heart. I really love that. And it might be hard. There's only 29 other teams in the world. But we'll see what happens. Thank you, God. And my boys heard these prayers. So they knew that what I was up to. And sure enough, a week later, the Kansas City Royals called. It was beautiful. Out of nowhere, the Royals called and said, we want to give you our job as a broadcaster. And I was like, what? Oh, I couldn't believe it. So I said, Jennifer, guess what, man? Kansas City wants me to be their broadcaster.
Kansas City, here we come.
Yeah, and I never played for their team or anything, so I was wondering how was that going to work. The fans didn't know me or anything.
So we ended up in Kansas City, and it's been a wonderful stop. We love our home in Overland Park, our church, our friends, and we looked for a school that would be the right fit for Cade, because we knew if it was the right special education piece, it would be good for the other children as well. And we found a wonderful teacher in Diane Knox at Blue Valley West. Cade graduated and then went on to their 18 to 21 year program at the Access House. And now today he is working at 2 bakeries, the Sunflower Bakery and Possibility Bakery, and he loves it. He's an active kid. He's involved in Challenger, football, baseball, basketball, Special Olympics, and he loves to act and sing and swim and dance. Teamwork makes a difference, folks, and he's a huge part of our team for sure. You know, as I said earlier, he's involved in a lot of things. He's involved in Special Olympics and Challenger, but the pandemic has made a huge difference in his life, probably the biggest difference in his life, because everything came to a stop. I mean, he really has, he's been bored. He's doing Zooms, and we are so thankful for the groups that include him in the Zooms, and he's exercising. We've been swimming more, but this pandemic has been tough for everybody. But things are coming back, and we're excited about it. He started back at the bakeries, and he's not excited every day to go to work, but we are.
When Jennifer and I said I do when we married, we knew there'd be some challenges in life, but we had no idea that we were going to have a child with a disability or a special ability is what I like to call it now.
Up syndrome, that's
right,
what we like to call it.
Right. You know, but with each season in life, there's changes, and not all the seasons are great. But as a team, working together, you can do great things.
And with Christ as our foundation and our determination, God promises that we, Team Hudler, can do all things through Him. You know, when you're on a plane and they say buckle up and, you know, there's going to be turbulence, well, when there's turbulence in your life, you have to buckle up too. You know, you buckle up and you hang on to God.
That's right, because He can see the future, and He has already laid it out for us. Let's trust Him, and then we don't have to trust ourselves.
You know, folks, the most important step we can take individually or as parents is to accept Christ. And it doesn't mean there's smooth waters all the way, but if He's your foundation, you can get through anything. Becoming His followers is the key. You know, we try to be our best for our 4 children. We're not perfect. We don't always do the right things. So we continue to ask God to guide us. And we seek His will in our lives every day. It's kind of, I think of it as spiritual breathing. I stop at a stop sign. I'm breathing. I'm talking to God. Now I'm making dinner. I'm talking to God. If I didn't have God in my life, I don't know how we would have gotten through these 32 years, to be honest.
What about when you're yelling at me? Are you thinking about God then?
Yeah, I'm thinking, what am I going to do with Him, God?
Hey,
what am I going to do with Him?
One of my favorite verses is 1 Corinthians 13, 4 through 7. It says, "Love is patient, love is kind. It does not envy. It does not boast. It is not proud. It is not rude. And it's not self-seeking. It is not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in truth. It always protects. It always trusts. Always hopes and always perseveres.
We want to encourage you that when you're struggling, when your team is struggling, remember you're not alone. Reach out to your friends, your family, your pastor. They're there for you.
So Cade changed our lives just like our other children did. But for Cade, it took a little bit more special time and special care. But through the peaks and through the valleys, we'll continue to look for the positive. That's how we move forward in life. We can't dwell on the negatives. We can't beat ourselves up because that is not making us move forward. In order to move forward, we have to seek counsel from God, first of all, but also time to time, we have to seek counsel from others, just like Jennifer said. And we try to pray, lift things up, and let God take them from there. But we didn't do it alone. Folks, we believe that Cade, as well as my other children, was wonderfully made. We want to thank Doc, Hunsley, and the entire SOAR community who have taken us under their wings, who have given us respite when we've needed it. And we just want to say thank you for the opportunity for this conference that we could share our life.
And we want to thank you for making the step to strengthen your home team today.
May God bless you and soar in this conference. Thank you.
Thank you.